I didn't like the attitude those days, in the government. I am what I am today largely because of Sports Authority of India. What do I do out of these people? Take a banana, eat it and throw the peel around. But these athletes, without any limbs or they are paralyzed, chest downwards, yet they have that will to win. Celebration is a very, very important part of sports,
Yeah.
A good athlete always, has a message to give.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Women in Sport powered by WordsWork and the Global Institute of Sports Business. Today we have with us a formidable administrator, Ms. Radhica Sreeman. She joined the Sports Authority of India in 1986 and spanned a wonderful career of 36 years as a sports administrator at the Sports Authority of India. She not only worked in Delhi extensively on some of the best schemes and programs of SAI, but she's also worked in various centers of SAI, with her biggest role being making a home away from home for all our wonderful athletes. We are very happy to have her with us today. Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's a real honor to have you with us.
Pleasure is absolutely mine.
Great. And ma'am, very few people know the extent of the work that you have done in the sports industry, and we really want to dive into that today. Wanted to start by asking you, how did you start your journey with sports, and was it a deliberate journey that got started, or was it by accident, and how glad are you that it happened to you?
Well, it just happened to me. See, I started my career with Binotone Electronics, and suddenly I realized that I needed a break because I was going all the way to Sahibabad. And then there was this opening in Sports Authority of India. I joined it, and I joined it as a stopgap arrangement because I didn't like the attitude those days, in the government.
Very different.
Although SAI is not strictly a government office. So I thought I would move out of SAI. But over a period of time, SAI has also evolved, and something held me back, and I'm so glad that I stayed back. And I worked for 36 good years in SAI.
Incredible.
And it was a tremendous journey, and there was a lot of learning. And of course, there were hard times also. But at the end of it, I would only say that I am what I am today largely because of Sports
that
Authority of
experience.
India.
Yeah. And ma'am, you spent so many years in different roles through SAI, and you've also traveled to various places. How enriching was that journey to go to these various different SAI centers that you've been, in charge of over the years? And any specific instances or any specific center that you feel you were most passionate about, or you have the maximum memories from?
Yes, transfers have always, initially it is always looked at as a bane, But I was once told by my then Director General, Mr. Arun Kumar Pandya, who's no more. He said that, you need to work at the grassroots level.
Yeah.
That's where the real learning takes place. So I had my own personal issues due to which I thought it was difficult. But once I did it, it became a cakewalk.
Yeah.
So the most interesting, or the center about which I'm passionate about, is Sonipat.
Okay. And is that a common choice, or it was very uncommon for you?
No. It was very, very uncommon,
Yes.
because there you had the wrestlers, and then it was a rustic environment. And I was first working in 2012. I was in Teams, and Teams was a very glamorous post, dealing with all the elite athletes. And 2012 we got 6 medals, Olympic medals. Yeah. So, and then, at that time, Mr. Ajay Makhan was the minister, and there was a lot of pomp and show made out of these athletes, because first time ever India did so well.
Yeah.
And right after that, in 2013, I was posted to Sonipat. And for 1 month, I was so disappointed, and I used to literally hold my head in my hand, and I used to wonder, where have I come?
Yeah.
What do I do out of these people? They would, there was no garbage bin there, and they would take a banana, eat it and throw the peel around, or have milk from the milk packets and throw it around. So then I sat in the dining hall with these athletes every day for 1 month. I sat there and I used to keep telling them that, look, you need to put it in the bin. You can't just throw it around. And then I realized there was no bin kept there. So I couldn't blame them. But then they obeyed my orders, maybe because of the gender, I had that advantage. And simultaneously, I started working for the center. So that bonding happened. And I worked with one of the best athletes like Sushil,
Yeah.
Yogeshwar, and many others, who were there. So then we grew, and then that center is very dear to me because it's like you plant a sapling, it grows into a tree, and it so happened that after my first tenure, I again got a chance to go to
So you
Sonipat.
saw the journey through.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw the
Yeah.
journey and a lot of unfinished jobs I could complete in my second
Correct.
tenure.
Correct.
So Sonipat is very passionate. I'm very passionate about Sonipat, and it's a beautiful place. And today, all my colleagues, at one time, they didn't want to go there. Today, they all want
They
to
all
go to
want to go
Sonipat.
there.
It's
Right.
very close to Delhi, and yet it's posting outside Delhi.
Correct. Correct.
So,
But ma'am, you worked so closely on the ground with the athletes, and that is the actual ground reality of where Indian sports is or has been over the years, what you've seen. How do you think, or do you draw a lot of your passion, inspiration, all the work that you've done over the years? How much of that is inspired by these athletes?
lot of it, lot of it. See, earlier I was working only with the able-bodied athletes, and the kind of training, especially in Sonipat, the way these wrestlers used to work out, and we had an air-conditioned hall, and they used to exercise there, and then they used to, train for their, in wrestling. Every 5 minutes, the mat used to be mopped. They used to sweat so
That
much.
My God.
So you can imagine the kind of hard work
Yeah.
that went in. There was a morning training, then there was lunch, then they would sleep, and again, 3 o'clock, they were on the mat.
So you saw that kind of
Yes.
effort and passion.
Effort and passion. And
Right.
then the archers who were there out in the sun all the time, trying to, hit the bullseye. And then I came across para athletes.
Okay.
And that was tremendous learning for me. I still remember Amit Saroha, who was there in Sonipat at that time. He was paraplegic, but he was most cheerful. He was always moving in his wheelchair. And then we worked with him. And later on, as luck would have it, before I retired, I was working with para-athletes, and then I went to the Paralympics also, where these athletes did tremendously well. And again, now they're doing very well. So, and there, you really learn that you have your limbs in place, you have your everything in place. But these athletes, without any limbs, or they are paralyzed, chest downwards, yet they have that will to win. And they really struggle.
Do you think it's a bit more, or they need to have a bit more to be able to achieve that
it's much
success?
more.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they feel that they're difficult. Yes, they are difficult because they literally have to struggle in this world
That's the
to,
circumstances.
make a mark
Yeah.
for themselves.
Correct. Ma'am, you said you went to the 2020 Para Games, and that for India has also been a turning point in terms of just the general awareness about para sports and how our athletes are achieving so much. What was that experience like to go for the games and to be with these athletes?
It was most beautiful experience. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Though initially, my colleague and I, we were not wanting to go because it was still COVID times and one was very worried. And through the COVID period, we were working on their training and keeping them, drawing SOPs and ensuring that the athlete did not get COVID, and those of them who who got COVID also were treated well, and there were some of them were medal prospects as well. But being there, it was very, very nice. I really enjoyed every moment because you could literally hold their hand, and they also felt very comforted because here they were dealing with us in India, and there also we are there and holding the tricolor. When I can never forget when Sumit Antil was winning, every throw he was creating a record.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do a 70, and then he comes up to me because I was in the first row, because of COVID, we had that
Protocol,
advantage.
yeah, correct.
So I was holding the flag in my hand, and he comes and tells me, "Ma'am, mere coach se baat karwa do."
Acha.
And there was music going on, and I connected to his coach because I want to do a 70.
Yeah.
So those moments I can never forget. Mariappan, all of them, they did so well. And then, of course, in shooting, we had Avni,
Yes.
you know.
She's really
So
made history as
she's
well
really
since then.
made a
Correct.
mark. Then we had the badminton players, Pramod. Then Krishna. So all of them, they did a wonderful job. And at the end of it, we would all join together. We were in the village. We would sit in the dining hall. And in the mornings, we would have breakfast together, dinner together. And then each one was at the different
Excellent.
venues.
Excellent.
So,
Yeah.
And then we would play board games in the evening.
So it became like a unit, basically, a family
I've
unit in a
always
way.
felt, all my unit, this is the greatest learning I had in Sonipat, it has to be a home away from home. Only then you can.
And that's
get
how the
best.
athletes also thrive when they
Absolutely.
feel that it is a home away from home.
They really need that kind of support. Because you see, even, one thing my then DG insisted was that right from the airport till the games village, you need to be holding their hand.
Yeah.
So we saw them off, we received them. In fact, I came before the games. I didn't stay for the closing, just to receive them.
Just to receive them as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that feeling, because you see, even their own family is not there. We get all the permission. Even at the airport, they can just drop them up to a point.
Correct.
But inside all the support system, my team,
Everyone was handling
so
it. Yeah.
that was something very nice. It was a sense of achievement for each one of us.
But ma'am, you've actually, since the 80s now, you've seen how sports has evolved in India as well. From when you started at SAI, what your nature of your work was compared to when you recently now, concluded these amazing initiatives. How do you think sports has evolved, and has it been for the better? Where are we right now in this world of sports as far as India is concerned?
Well, India, we are doing very well, and it has evolved, because if I look at 84, 85, when SAI came into being, we used to have National Physical Fitness Program, and we were basically, SAI was created to look after all the stadia which got created for Asiad 82.
Correct. That's right.
And then
So SAI was born out of the Asiad that happened.
Out of that.
Got it.
And then we had the first scheme was National Sports Talent Contest Scheme, which was again a very popular scheme then, where, kids could study and play and live in the same venue. So they adopted a lot of boarding schools and they were trained. But over a period of time, that died its death.
Yeah.
Then came the Special Area Game Scheme, and where they, identified athletes from coastal area or hilly terrain, and they were trained in different sport.
Right.
And then, of course, there were lots of other schemes. But of late, what they've been doing, I would say last 10 years or so, centers of excellence.
Correct.
And then further, that was fine-tuned into, focusing on excellence. Then came the top scheme, where athletes got all the support, monetary support in terms of sports sciences or coaches or exposure. And also the budget also went up.
Yeah. That always helps. Of course,
and then came Khelo India, which really, brought sports into the public eye. And then India's performances also over a period of time has been improving.
So there are these various elements that have come together now.
And social media.
And social media plays its role. But I'm pretty impressed because I've also been working with SAI over certain elements of Khelo, and the fact that it has really caught up with the times in terms of how people are consuming information and content. Why is this awareness increasing is also a lot because it's being put out there in the right channels and platforms. And I was very impressed to see that very digital first and very media savvy approach that I didn't expect coming from the private sector to be adopted so quickly. So I think that adaptiveness that has come through with people like you, of course, there has really helped, at
Yeah,
least
not
from our
just me. I mean,
perspective. Yes.
it's always, I've always felt it's a team effort.
Yes, yes.
Yes, we have sort of grown with the time. Which I mean, I would never consider SAI as a straitjacket government organization. Even the government organizations have now
Changed.
sort of
Correct.
moved with the time,
Yeah.
and a lot of modernization has taken place. Maybe we are in the public eye, so we probably needed to do more,
Yeah.
and any action that was there was caught, and one needed to be up with the time.
Absolutely.
So that has made a lot of difference.
And all the schemes that you were talking about and the programs that have been initiated with SAI, which one do you think has had huge, immense impact or potential, which you feel has done its job in terms of setting the foundation right as far as the programs are concerned?
See, I cannot name just one
Yeah,
scheme.
of course. Yeah.
Special area games was a very good scheme, where we had talented athletes from hilly terrain. Like we had, people like Sonam and all. They trained in long distance. Then and also we had shooters and archers. Limbaram is one name I can recall, so these children were trained, and then they could, sort of contribute to the sports ecosystem. But somewhere special area games took a back seat, and then they started focusing on centers of excellence where athletes were trained, and then the elite sports person got all the support from the government.
Yeah.
Of course, the support kept increasing, and they've done well. And then Khelo India came. So I think every scheme had
Has
its
played
role
its role,
to
correct.
play. So to say that this was good and that was not good
No.
would not be fair.
You're right.
So,
You're right. You saw
I mean,
the-
it has evolved. SAI has evolved over
SAI
a
has
period
also
of
evolved.
time.
Makes sense. So you saw the whole germination of the idea of Khelo India and to where it's reached now. It's in its various shapes and forms. And like you correctly said, we are only seeing the games itself, but there's a lot more to it than that. So I would love to know more about where it started and what all it actually has done in terms of impact.
See, we started in 2018 as Khelo India School Games. It was
Correct.
called KISG.
The one in Pune, the first
No,
one.
not in Pune, in Delhi.
In Delhi,
The
okay.
first games were held at Delhi. So there are several verticals. So games is just one of the vertical. So they create infrastructure, then we give scholarships under Khelo India, and so on and so
Correct.
forth.
Okay.
So we started KISG, and then later on, the government thought that it was not just the youth. It was there were a larger, higher age group as well. So they said, okay, let's call it the Youth Games.
Yeah.
So then it was called Khelo
Youth
India
Games.
Youth Games,
Correct.
which happened in Pune and then in Guwahati, and then it
So
goes
on.
on.
Yeah.
So that's an annual feature. So what Khelo India has done is it has made SAI's presence felt.
Yes.
The name was very catchy. Khelo
It's
India.
caught on to people.
Caught on to
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely.
And with the government policy, Make in India, so India can actually make a dent
Yes.
in the field of sports.
Yes.
So that's what it has
And also,
done.
ma'am, just to see the numbers that come through in a Khelo event is really encouraging to see that, yes, there is this talent pool that we can work
Yeah,
with.
because we
Yeah.
ensure that all the states and UTs, they participate.
Correct.
So
Correct.
there is a representation, and you never know from where the talent would emerge.
And it's also exposure for that talent to other talent from the
Absolutely.
country. Correct.
And also, you see, wearing the Khelo India colors and the logo of Khelo India, and the selected few also get scholarship.
Correct.
So it's it's a multi-pronged approach, and a lot of Khelo India talent has also made it to the national teams, and then
Correct.
at international level they have shown
So
their
it's a
prowess.
great talent pool which comes together with Khelo. And what I also found very interesting was that sense of competition that emerges, whether it's state versus state and youth games, or it's university versus university. And that is the core essence of sport, when you have people rallying together and looking at those medal tallies that come through. So I think that spirit has come in a large way, and it's going
Yes,
further. Yeah.
absolutely. That is the main crux of sports
Correct.
world.
Correct. Yeah.
That healthy competition which has come by. That's very important.
Also, I think, ma'am, the whole idea of, because sports is so related to picking it up at a younger age, parents need to play that role, or society probably needs to play that role of integrating sports into culture, or potentially as a serious career option for their children. So, how involved is the education side of things when it comes to grassroots sports and linking
See,
it
the
back?
sports
Yeah.
ministry has always been toying with this idea where, sports should be made part of the curriculum.
Yes.
And it has come in a long way, I mean, a lot of people are taking up. Parents are now very keen after seeing so many names. And again, I would attribute to social media. Earlier, it was just the print media or the audiovisual media, which did not give so much weightage, But now with the social media and the kind of benefits sportsmen are getting, jobs or even their endorsements they make. So everybody wants to, I mean, every parent would want their child to be that somebody,
Absolutely.
And kids are genuinely, they love sports,
Yeah.
irrespective of the fact whether they want to compete or not. Like you go to a club, you will see kids playing football or tennis or cricket. I mean, cricket and football are, of course, the most common games which kids would like to take up.
Absolutely. And I think when these athletes win and they go back to their towns and villages, and that whole community comes together to celebrate them,
Yes.
I think that just builds up that spirit of
Absolutely.
sport playing that role for the community as
Celebration is a very, very important part
Correct.
of sports,
Yeah.
Like this is something which I learned while I worked in Sonipat, because I realized there was just one small picture of Sushil at that time in 2013, and he was Olympic medalist then. And then I started blowing up pictures, and those days one didn't have that kind of funds, So, and then once you celebrate your athlete, every small win, he feels good and he wants to do better and better. So celebration is very, very important.
What's the relationship been like with Sushil over the years?
It's been a wonderful relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, wherever he may be today, but I really genuinely respect Sushil, the sportsman.
Yeah.
That
comes first.
Yes, that comes first and primarily. And I know him because of that only. And a double Olympic medalist.
Yeah.
Very few people have achieved. I mean, in fact, Sindhu's would be the one.
Pretty much, yes.
And the kind of sport that he played, wrestling, was no easy task. And it's really unfortunate that he couldn't go to Rio. Otherwise, he would have perhaps given his all to
that as well.
Crack a hat trick.
Correct.
Which didn't happen. But whatever has happened today is very unfortunate. He was one of the most disciplined sports person. And during his time, nobody ever dared to do any mischief.
Yeah.
Because he himself was so dedicated.
Yeah. I think if you have a good athlete, then the athletes around
Absolutely
also get impacted by that same attitude and culture. So it really helps.
Yes, that really helps,
Yes. Yes.
Because they all used to look up to Sushil. In Sonipat at that time, he was the only Olympic medalist.
Correct.
And then came Yogeshwar. And then Sushil and Yogeshwar were, always their names would be taken together.
Yeah.
They were best of friends. And Yogeshwar also got training from Sushil's guru, Satpalji.
Right.
So, that thing was very nice.
Yeah.
But over a period of time, that died its own death, which is very sad.
Yeah.
So, but yes, a good athlete always, has a message to give.
They have a message, they leave a mark.
They
It's really
absolutely
important,
leave a mark.
Correct.
Of course, there are professional rivalries, but that depends on the administrator to sort of, iron out the creases.
Correct.
Because that can get very fatal if two people are fighting.
That's true. Have you been in such difficult situations
There
in your
have
career?
been at times, but then it was never too much to handle.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Or maybe you're underplaying it for all we know.
it's
Right.
not fair for me to be talking
No,
about
of
it
course,
now.
of
But
course.
then, yes,
Yeah.
it was there. But like I said, my focus was always creating a home away from home. So at the end of the day, we were one big family.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think, like in a family, you have
Of course.
fights and differences. So also. But then at the end of the day, they were all happy to be with one another and competing.
Super. Ma'am, you've also seen the rise of women athletes in India, from the 80s, if you were to look at it and then draw that trajectory till today. Um, how encouraging has it been now to have so many girls not just participating in sport, but also performing in the elite space?
No, it's been very, very encouraging, and women have sort of made a difference
Yeah.
to the sports ecosystem,
Mhm.
whether participating or working, whatever roles that they have played.
Yeah.
And I would only say that they've added color to the whole thing,
Hmm.
and it's
New dimension being added
new
to it.
dimension
Correct.
being added, and of course. They've had a tough journey also.
Yeah.
It's never been easy for a woman. Whether you take yourself or me, we have our, you really have to create a niche for yourself.
Correct.
And so also these women have done well. And not just in the able-bodied sphere, even in para sector.
Which is yet another layer of
Yet another
complication
layer,
coming in.
For a woman to be a para athlete, Deepa was one, and they have their own issues
Correct.
to deal with, which the world at large may not appreciate.
But then they also make the best role models for other girls to come into the
They
industry.
absolutely make the best role models, and there, they forget their struggle.
Even in administration, ma'am, you yourself have been there, and not too many, I'm sure, in the early days at least. But now you're seeing more and more women take up roles in sports. And even I'm seeing within the industry now, I have these select few, and we all come together and we're there for each other because we do understand the struggles of the various dimensions we have to address. But from an administrator's perspective, where have you seen the journey of women coming into these roles? And I think it's a great added advantage to have that kind of an ecosystem. But you've seen it obviously evolve from very early days.
Yes,
you probably were one of the only women in the system.
When I joined Sports Authority, I was the only women officer.
Correct.
We had women at
so you were the first
levels.
Woman officer of Sports Authority of India.
Yes. So it was sort of initially the acceptance was not there to so much because no matter what a woman achieved, always motives were attributed, which was very sad. And one had to really prove oneself.
Work extra hard.
Work extra hard.
Yeah.
And I think for all women, they have their home responsibilities as well and their office responsibilities. So, yes, but then over a period of time, a lot of other women came in, which gave me a lot of courage also. And also, one felt...
it was a welcome change.
Yeah, the welcome change.
Correct.
And then we had the first woman DG in Neelam Kapoor ma'am. And that was really nice, So one felt encouraged. And then now we have Secretary Sports, who's yet another woman, very dynamic, very warm, very compassionate. So I somehow feel, women can bring compassion along with her, which sometimes you cannot associate with a man. Not that he isn't.
Yeah.
Men are compassionate, but probably they don't like to show it.
Yeah.
Or they are unable to show it.
It's a very different way of functioning.
Yeah, it's a different way of functioning.
Everyone plays their roles, basically. Yeah. But ma'am, how important is education in this whole process? Because I think for me, my biggest reason of doing this was for girls to know that there is a career in sports beyond being an athlete. And there is an entire ecosystem of administrators, people who run firms, and various other roles within the industry. But I think it stems from the fact that they need to understand that this is a viable career option in itself.
Well, education is important for anybody and in any field. But I mean, I wouldn't say that education is a barrier really, because even in the sports, even our athletes get an option to do a vocational training as well, because not all of them make it to the top. So
Correct.
if you're not the best of the sports person, then you could, take a career in coaching or in sports massage or physiotherapy. So there are lots of other areas where you can.
Right.
And then now with the social media, people, a lot of women athletes have taken to that line as well. In journalism, they can merge. Branch into. So yes, education would be important in any sphere.
Yeah.
But I found wrestling, the women who were, wrestlers generally don't go to school.
Yeah.
So,
They start their training
they
from
start
a
their,
young age.
so
Correct.
it's that has been the trend. But now even those girls are pretty, taped up on what's happening, and they may not be able to communicate in English, but it's
Yes,
okay.
that's
But
fine.
they're comfortable in Hindi. They are able to convey what they want to. So sports is attracting a lot of people. There's a lot of money in it. There's a lot of glamour. There is, it shapes your character.
And it's a very positive space to
Very
be in.
positive space also to be in.
Correct, correct. And I think that also has attracted of late a lot of corporates into the sector and,
Yes.
for them to play their part. And I think the interest is there, the keenness is there. How important is it for them to be able to understand and work closely with whatever the government is doing or organizations like SAI is doing to come together?
Well, a lot of corporates have shown their interest, but still they need to understand, you see, because they look at their visibility.
Yeah. And that's a given. We have to
Which
look
is
at
a
it
given,
that
which
way. Yeah.
I completely understand. But I feel they can do a lot more, rather than, your visibility will be there.
Yeah.
If you work in that sphere, you will definitely be known sooner or later. So you can take up this issue of educating a girl child,
Yeah.
right from the beginning, not just in their sporting career. Even generally, you see what the corporates do, they adopt a athlete or they support them in various other way. Then we have the top scheme where a lot of corporates contribute.
Contribute to, yeah.
Which is, where it's a corpus. It goes towards their training. But maybe the corporate could separately take in terms of, supporting them in finishing school. Finishing school meaning not only in education, in teaching the nuances of how to carry oneself.
Correct. And all of these build the brand visibility of the athlete. So it's
Absolutely.
great for the athlete from an ROI perspective
Yes.
as well. Right.
Because when they go abroad, how do you deal with others? Even, simple things like using your cutlery.
Yeah.
This is very basic.
So have you been in that space? Because I know you've taken a
in
lot of the
Sonipat,
athletes to the
I
games.
tried to do
Yeah.
a lot,
Correct.
my objective was to teach them use a chopstick, but
Really?
I could only go up to a knife, fork and knife.
Okay.
Because, I was very fascinated. I had done a stint with the archers. So I went to Shanghai with them. And there I saw Deepika Kumari and Atanu and Rajat, all these people using the chopstick. They were very comfortable. And I said, I must also use it because I had learned long back when I was in college. So initially I struggled because you don't use a
Yeah,
chopstick.
yeah.
And then I was able to manage. And then I asked Deepika, I said, Deepika, where did you learn this? You're so good at it. She says, no, we had a Korean coach and he felt that it's good for our nerves because
Finger
when
dexterity,
fingers.
yes,
so,
yes.
so we learned it there.
How interesting.
Very interesting. And there I said, if Deepika, coming from a rustic background from Jharkhand, could do it, I'm sure my wrestlers could do it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's where this idea came upon me. And then I felt that every time you go to an Olympic village or any international event, the Indians would huddle up together, the educated ones would still make an impact, but that percentage was very small. So I feel somewhere this finishing school has to contribute to your self-esteem,
Interesting.
which translates into your productivity.
Yeah.
meaning medals at the end of the day.
Excellent.
So I feel that's where some corporate can really help. That is an area which has not been touched
It
so
hasn't
far.
actually, because what I've noticed so far is that you have two ends of the spectrum. You have corporate CSR, which is heavily focused on grassroots, and then you have corporate from a brand building perspective, which is very focused on the elite athletes when they reach that stage of winning medals, and for them to have a bit of that shine on them. But I think if you've understood that entire journey of an athlete, and there are these smaller aspects which nobody probably is seeing because
these are
they're not on
very
ground.
small, but then
They're very important to the athlete.
Very important.
Yes.
Because it's something to do with your self-esteem, how
Yeah.
you feel about yourself.
Correct.
So confidence comes from winning medals, all right.
Yeah.
But then before winning medal, how do you hone their skills?
And there's a lot more to learn
Lot
beyond
more
that.
to see. If
Yeah.
you take the journey of an athlete, what he was on his first podium finish and what he is today.
And you see that confidence
Yeah,
shift.
you see that confidence.
Yes.
Even, we used to do these little interviews at the airport while they were boarding their flight. And they used to feel so good about it, talking. Of course, these were done with the mobile camera.
Correct.
But because we didn't have a choice to take in equipments inside because airport had their own regulations.
Restrictions, yeah.
But these athletes were so happy seeing themselves in the social media. Then they would, take selfies, put out posts in the social media.
They're all getting savvy along with that.
Yeah,
I feel.
they all
Yeah.
are very savvy. I mean, all my wrestlers, they would write to me in Roman. Madam, kaise ho aap? So I learned doing that. It used to irritate me initially. Like, why can't I say, how are you?
Yeah.
But I have to write Hindi in English.
Yes.
So it was.
We've all learned that now with the athletes.
But then they can communicate.
Absolutely. And
Or then they would send me a voice message.
yeah. So that I think technology has enabled a lot
Absolutely.
of things for them to put themselves out there more, for people to recognize their achievements better, which is, of course, beyond the world of cricket, which has already been a very mainstream broadcast sport. But so we also do a lot of media trainings for athletes. And when we conduct it, and I would say especially for the female athletes, that transformation that you witness from the first media training to maybe an interview they do many days after that, and the fact that it sticks with them is a very, very fulfilling experience, because the first thing you need to tackle with is the shyness. They
Yes.
all have incredible stories to tell. They are all incredible athletes. They're probably working 1,000 times harder than any of us can ever work.
Absolutely.
But they just need that bit of push to be able to say, your story is worth telling and talking about, and speak in the language you're comfortable in, articulate the way you like. And when they shed that inhibition is when the real gems come out in terms of storytelling. It's
they,
really nice.
they're, tremendous. All these girls, the kind of life they've led
Yes.
and the kind of life they're leading is, not just the stories, even the physical appearance
Yeah.
has undergone a transformation.
Correct.
And they look so beautiful.
Yeah.
That
So many times we do shoots with them and they love it when you do that bit of a transformation for them to spend a little time of their day glamming up, looking good. Then you just see, okay, she is just that girl who wants to enjoy
Yes.
herself as well, beyond being a great athlete. But ma'am, now looking forward, I would say that obviously we're in a great place as far as sports is concerned. Where do you think we're headed to, and what do you think needs to be done to keep the momentum going for the sports journey?
See, we are now known we are a force to reckon with,
Yes.
India.
Yeah.
And I think there's no looking back now, because we've reached a stage where we can only go further.
Yeah.
And everybody has understood that. And a lot of youngsters are coming up and they're making sports as a career.
Yeah.
And I think they will just go on. I don't see any backward journey.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
forward. And
It's only forward from there. And also, I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, earlier the talent pools were very restricted to certain regions of the country, especially for specific sports like wrestling, for example. Are you seeing that bit of a shift where there is more talent emerging from different parts of the country, and it's becoming more inclusive in terms of, more people coming from different parts of the country rather than those specific hotbeds of talent that were there?
No, now a lot of people, because see,
Yeah.
Khelo India has been really responsible
Yeah.
for this,
Yeah.
and it's played a catalytic role because we insist on every state and union territory. So even if there is no entry, there would be a wildcard entry just to promote them and push them. And then, talents emerge.
Of course.
So now it's not just, of course, Haryana is good in wrestling, but Haryana is good in everything.
Correct.
You give them
All sports,
anything.
I would say.
That's
Yeah.
what I learned while being in Sonipat. You give them a stick and they'll start playing.
But why do you think that's the case? Did you have any observation on, is it a cultural thing? Is it a physical
I think,
aspect?
Physical aspect also, because
Yeah.
they're very hardy and hardworking people. Even the women go to the village. You would see them in the farm. They would be doing farming, and then they would have cattle at home. Of course, now that thing is limited to few households only.
Correct.
But in earlier days, all these women, they were very hardworking women, and men also. So there was no education. So it was basically they're farmers or they're sportsmen.
So it's literally one of the two. And
Yeah,
they're
one
both
of
very
the two.
physically taxing.
Very physically,
jobs, yeah.
they would, so you give them anything, they would go and play. That's what I found in Sonipat.
And similarly, I would see a lot of the northeastern states have also taken to sport in a big way, especially
Yes.
women emerging from the
Yes.
northeast of late in terms of sport. I think that local encouragement also probably plays a very important
Yes,
role.
absolutely. Northeast also, see, Northeast in certain states, like Manipur came in from initially, because there was a lot of poverty and these women would get into sports because for that, one member of the family less.
Yeah, yeah.
And when they got into our schemes, they got good diet and then they started excelling in sports. So then seeing one person do well, there are 10 others who follow suit, And Northeast also different, the Seven Sisters, each state has a character.
Yeah.
And also they excel in different sports, Contact sports is there, then you have badminton, table tennis.
Football as well.
Football as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So again, they're very tough. The life is so tough over there. So that becomes a way of life for them.
Correct.
So they do well in sports. So now I think almost from all parts of the country, sportsmen are emerging. And in the times to come, it's going to be more and more.
Absolutely. And the fact that the model of Khelo goes from state to state also just applies to that state in terms of how involved the state government gets into sports
Yes,
as well.
that is the idea behind
That's the
it.
idea. To
because
activate each state.
Activate each state.
Correct.
And then there is a competitive spirit.
Yes.
If Pune has done it, okay, now Gujarat has to do it.
Yes.
Or,
So it's a healthy competition that we're trying
healthy
to develop.
competition,
here.
very
Correct.
healthy. And also what happens is in the process, the infrastructure also gets created or upgraded.
Upgraded at least.
Basic infrastructure is available in most states. But, and then national games happen, then again the infrastructure gets created and then upgraded.
So in that process, I think pan-India, what we're developing is the spirit, competition, infrastructure, all of that comes together with the system, right? And then, ma'am, like for example, how we're seeing a state like Odisha has adopted a sport like hockey and they're building an infrastructure around it. Do you think it's a good idea for other states also to take that cue, maybe from a specific sports adoption or their own little local program, which is very strong in terms of development of talent, right from the grassroots?
That's an absolute. Orissa has been excellent role model, and lots of states are coming up.
Yeah.
Chennai did it, I think 2 years back. They did the chess.
Correct.
And
the Olympiad
they
happened
had
there.
Olympiad, and they had really colored the city like a chessboard, and it was really wonderful. So lots of states are looking up to Orissa and trying to replicate the same thing. So that is something every state should do, and it'll be in the long run. Maybe they can take the sports in which that particular state excels in, or where you can, where there are medal prospect. So that would be an excellent idea.
Yeah. And ma'am, of course, across the years, you've seen a lot of successes. You've also probably seen a lot of challenges. It's not always been an easy road. And where do you think there were these challenges where you feel that it was not easy, but what kept you going, in those kind of situations?
See, my greatest challenge was transfers out of Delhi.
Yes.
every time a transfer order came, initial reaction was, oh no.
Yeah.
But then once I was there, it was a different story. Initial teething trouble apart, then you become one with the center. Then you have your athletes, they become your family, and whatever the policy of that center is and whatever you're working on. So that was one. And then, of course, at different stages, sometimes there was lack of support system in terms of resources, human resources. And also there we faced, especially in my first tenure in Sonipat, there were financial constraints as well. So you want to do something for your athlete, but you're not able to because you don't have the funds. There's only X amount that you get. And that goes towards running of the center and various other committed expenditure, whatever you need to do. So if you think out of the box,
do the challenges push you to innovate in a way?
Yes, at times, yes. But also you don't get support in terms of people forthcoming, who are so wanting to support you.
Yeah.
So, but that's thing is changing gradually. Now there's a lot of money in the sports world. And a different kind of challenges may arise.
Of course. We all have to face them as they come along.
We all have
absolutely.
to, keep
but
up.
I think that's probably where the learnings are as well for us to sort of take it ahead. Yeah, absolutely. So, ma'am, you've had a wonderful, long, very rich career in sports. What is the one thing that you take away? What has sports given to you in all these years?
It's very difficult to...
It's a bit of an introspective question.
Yeah. I think I am what I am today largely because of my career in sports, or I would say Sports Authority of India.
Okay.
I worked for 36 years, seen the ups and downs. So I just want to remember all the positive things that happened to me, all the people who worked with me, I worked with rather. And there's been tremendous learning, and I am what I am largely because of Sports Authority of India, my athletes, my colleagues, my bosses, my juniors. So
you take that all with you.
Yeah, I take that all with me.
Wonderful. And I'm sure it's been a wonderful journey for you.
Absolutely.
As it has been for us and for everyone who's listening to this. I think the last thing I wanted to take away from it is probably that we all come with a lot of preconceived notions, especially coming from the private sector, not understanding. Sometimes there's some incredible people like yourself who are working from within the system and making that change. And I think that's the most encouraging thing for us to start appreciating probably and work together on as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for your time.
I hope you all really enjoyed this episode. At least for me, I think this was an eye-opener to see what incredible people have been working behind the scenes for our athletes and for sports in India. I really hope you enjoyed it and look forward to doing many more such episodes with the incredible women in sports that we meet.